Your firm has debt worth $200,000 with a yield of 9% and equity worth $300,000. It's growing at a 5% rate and faces a 40% tax rate. A similar firm with no debt has a cost of equity of 12%. Under the MM extension with growth, and in this case no taxes, what is its cost of equity? Okay, we'll look at Proposition 2 on the screen. When there are no taxes, the cost of equity to a levered firm, which is given by R sub SL, is equal to the cost of equity to an unlevered firm in the same risk class plus a risk premium whose size depends on both the difference between an unlevered firm's cost of debt and equity and the amount of debt used. So when we look at the formula, we can see that in this problem we can plug in the numbers to determine the cost of equity for our firm under the MM extension with growth and no taxes. Alright, so what do we know? We know a similar firm has no debt, so the unlevered cost of equity is 12%, and that's given in the problem. And we add to that the risk premium, which is the 12% less the 9%. The 9% represents the value of the debt. So 12% of an unlevered firm versus the 9% debt on our firm gives us a factor that we need to then multiply by the ratio of debt to equity. So we take the 12% minus 9%, which is 3%, and multiply it by 200,000 debt divided by 300,000 of equity, and we come up with a 2% additive factor that we then add to the 12% similar firm's cost of equity, and we come up with 14%. And 14% is the cost of equity under the MM extension with growth and no taxes. Now let's take a look at the same problem, only let's just make one change in the assumptions which you see underlined. It asks, under the MM extension with growth and corporate taxes, what is the cost of equity? And other than that, this is the same problem. Now we look at the Proposition 2 that includes the impact of taxes, and you see in the equation there's a new term, 1 minus t, in the premium, or the second term that we use to calculate the cost of equity under the MM extension with growth and corporate taxes. Okay, now on the bottom of the screen I've indicated the solution in terms of how you would enter it in Excel. So in a cell in Excel you would enter equal 12% plus left paren 12% minus 9% times that new term, 1 minus the tax rate, in this case 40%, times the ratio of debt to stock. And when you work that, the answer comes out to be 13.2%.